Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics. Hello, matey. How you diddly? How you doing? All right?
Hello.
Good to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all well. I'm doing very well, thank you. I mean, here I am on the sofa of dreams, as usual, and I am disturbed, to say the least. Well, I mean, here I am, sign, sofa, and there's nothing behind you. The plant's been replaced by look like sort of stripy curtains. Is that I can see behind you for the listeners?
Well,
for a bit that. There's nothing behind Sam that you would expect.
No, well, so obviously away doing panto. Last week was lucky enough that I had the opportunity to pop home now and then, just to sort of in-betweeny bits where there was a break here and there. But now fully immersed, fully on the go. So I'm afraid, yes, my home for the next month, give or take, is a travel lodge. So here I am in East Grinstead Travel Lodge. Here are my curtains. Anyone that's watching on YouTube, I can't do that. Where are they? There we go.
There they are.
And then I've got a lovely painting, which is just a reflection of light at the moment, and my bed. So sorry for anyone watching on YouTube. My background and it is certainly far from interesting this time around, although it's different to normal. But it's
different.
And yeah,
to be honest, Sam, when you're doing panto and you're working like you're going to see very little of your hotel room, let's face it. You're going to be at work all day.
Exactly, mate. But I have to say that it may be a different background for my Drewling Samantics appearance this week. However, something has not changed. I have made sure that I've got a beer.
I'm with you, buddy. There we go. The necessary.
Amazing. Top stuff.
Cheers to you.
Cheers, everyone. Welcome.
Cheers to you, mate. Well, I'm still at home, as you can see. I'm commuting, so it's hectic, but very, 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 very enjoyable.
Yeah,
having a great time.
So my end hugely busy. Finished rehearsals now and opened. Incredible, most amazing feeling to be finally doing it for real, having had a week and a half or just over of rehearsals and prepping and all that kind of stuff. And just feels so amazing to be back on stage doing something so much fun. So it's really chuffed. And you're approaching the end of rehearsals now.
The end of tech. So we're teching, and then we will be following you in the land of audience. Yes. Looking forward.
Amazing, and it just feels like we're back at a point where, despite things still going on, we're very aware lots of things are still going on, and it is still very stay careful and don't push boundaries and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the theatre I'm at certainly are being massively careful and making sure that we're all safe.
Yeah, we are.
This is all safe, and it's just a real relief that people are really trying to make sure that theatre stays alive and that everyone has a good Christmas, really. Because we want to make sure that no one kind of misses out and loses out on certain experiences. And as we know, panto is huge, particularly for children, because it's a staple of Christmas, isn't it? It's one of those fun things that they don't get all year round. It's a once a year kind of thing.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it's important for some people. I hate to get preachy, but for some people, it is either their only experience of theatre, and for some children, it's their very first experience of theatre. So, it's for me, it's doubly important. I do feel, entertainment is very, is very important. But it breaks them in. It can be an introduction to a whole new world, which is
which would have been really appropriate if either of us were doing Aladdin, but we're not.
It would have been, wouldn't it? Yes, I just realised that was a cue for
great Disney song dropped in there, and you're doing Beauty and the Beast, and I'm doing Jack and the Beanstalk, so it's absolutely irrelevant to both.
Nothing to do with it.
But I have to say, I may be away from home. It may be panto season. Things may be slightly different, but that doesn't mean that I'm not spotting segues, because obviously my brain is tuned in and all I can see is a segue. That's how I work.
Yeah.
So you're saying, and very rightly so, that panto is very often the first theatre experience for a child. But sometimes kids can be lucky and they might experience a bit of theatre at school. So you might have a touring company come in. Often, I mean, almost always you will have like drama lessons and stuff at school. And then sometimes you'll do a drama trip out to the theatre perhaps. But probably more common than going out to the theatre with the school would be visiting theatre companies. And a lot of the time that will be on sort of an educational level. But almost always it's hugely invaluable and helps, forgive the use of the word, but educate kids to a different sort of level or in a different way. And would you believe it, again, despite me not being at home and you being fully immersed in panto world, we've still managed to get a guest on today. And
I know.
Just so happens that he's rather experienced in the world of educational theatre. So I don't know about you, mate, but I've got my beer ready. You've got yours ready. And he's in our waiting room. I think we should probably let him in and have a listen to what a good old friend of ours has got to say about theatre and particularly the educational side of it. What do you reckon?
I can think of nothing better, mate. Let's let him in and enjoy what he has to say. He's a great guy.
Absolutely. Right. So here he comes, our latest guest, Mr. Callan Durrant. And there he is, Mr.
Hey.
Callan Durrant. How are you?
I'm very good, gentlemen. How are you? Been a while.
It's been too long, mate. Separated by the unwelcome guest and distance and time, but it is so nice to see your face again. Absolutely lovely, mate.
Although the amount I've known you, Drew, it feels like you were going to say separated by birth.
Well, so here we are then. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners and viewers, please meet the wonderfully talented and brilliant Mr. Callan Durrant, the artistic director of Reflex Theatre Company, a very close personal friend of both mine and Drew's, and a very good colleague of ours as well. We've known each other again quite a long time, but it's been a few years now. And for anyone that's been a Drewling Samantics fan for a while, this would happen to be the young gentleman who I mentioned that I was best man at someone's wedding. Well, this would be him. So please meet Callan, the groom to my best man. It's a bit of a weird, but anyway, yeah, I'm digging a hole again. I end up doing it.
Really are, mate. Yeah.
It feels like it's been forever since I've done this, but it hasn't. But anyway, Callan, please, for all the Drewling Samantics listeners and viewers, please give us a little bit of a background, who you are, what you do, how you've got to the position you're in, and what Reflex Theatre is, please.
Yeah, of course. So, hello, everybody, Drewling Samantics world. Lovely to see you. And lovely to obviously be in the presence of you, whether you're watching on YouTube or via your podcast listening option of choice. So, yeah, for me, I used to be, I kind of still am a little bit of an actor. I trained as one at Derby Theatre, the National Youth Theatre, in the Actors Class in London, run by the brilliant Mary Doherty. And kind of, oh, hello, that's my alarm telling me to actually do a bedtime routine. Brilliant. Why didn't I think to turn that off? Anyway, you can tell I'm organised. So, yeah, I've been a gigging actor for about 7, 8 years or something. And in that time, was kind of discovering my own way of obviously performing, like we all do. All those in the industry kind of figure out, okay, I like performing this way, I quite like doing this, quite like doing this. I wasn't too much of a fan of rubbish scripts, which I don't think, I think is probably a shared thing.
I think we all share that one with you, Callan.
And I was very much like, oh, why can't I just do it the way I want to do it? Is there a way of just, I don't need the script. I'll follow my own rhythms of doing stuff. So that idea started to bubble away a little bit. And it was when I joined the NYT where me and a couple of other guys did a performance piece, which was about, funny enough, what would it take to end civilization? They come up with the answer of a virus. That was in 2014. How apt it is 7 years later. I know, right? And me and the other two guys, we came up with something that was supposed to be like a little bit of a fun, jokey, okay, I don't want to do anything about the whole virus world. Let's have a look at the guys who are actually running the control room or something behind this world. But we didn't want it scripted. We just want it fresh. And so we just came up with, okay, these are the things we know that's going to happen. We know how to start it. We know how to end it. Let's just play. Let's just come up with some stuff in between A and B. And that is the mentality that I've taken forward with Reflex Theatre. I love that so much, and I went, okay, what can I do to push that forward? And that stewed for about 5-6 years as I was still kind of gigging and moving from place to place. And then I met my now wife in 2019. And we kind of looked at each other and went, well, I've got this idea about how I want to do things. And she went, well, I love doing theatre as well. Should we just make a go of it? Hence, Reflex Theatre was born. So all of our work that we do is kind of infused around improvisation. It's all infused around originality and just allowing people to just express the way they want to express their own, I don't know, performance, or whether it's in an educational setting. It's just about allowing that creativity to kind of flow, which I know is obviously a little bit of an MO for all theatre people, but we wanted to find a way of doing it, okay, where there's no restrictions whatsoever, where we've got an idea of how to structure a performance, but we don't necessarily need to follow that every single night to keep the punters happy, it's just an experiment. Every single night. So that's kind of our philosophy, and the work that we've done kind of reflects that. We've done globally revered scratch nights where we take the first and last pages of brand new scripts and then improvise in the middle. So we it's like an ideas generator. And the tour that we are about to go on, called No Big Deal, which is going into schools, we have a main character which has a choice to make, or a series of choices throughout the production, and the audience get to decide. So obviously there is a scripted element to it, but every time the actor, and obviously us lot who are performing in those roles, we have to adjust our kind of reactions, our interactions based on the scenario, and we never know what that's going to be. So it'll always throw up something different every time. Yeah. And it's just finding those little nuances that we want to continue on our work. And we're just finding different ways of doing that. That's kind of me in a nutshell, how I got to now, I think.
I mean, I'm struck by two things. I mean, in a way, I'm having worked with you, I know the immense energy and drive and passion and professionalism, but also, I mean, that, as you say, is what every actor would love to do, to live on the, well, I suppose we do live on the edge, but to live on the edge on stage, and to put yourself there night after night after night after night in the particular circumstances you describe. Do you find there is a particular kind of actor that gravitates towards you? Have you found actors have gone, I couldn't possibly do that, or is it easy to attract people? Do you think that is this? You've found some of the actors are going, God, I really want to do that. You know, yeah, I'll come and join you.
Do you know what? A little bit of both. And I might actually throw that question your way, Sam, because I know you have performed with us in a scratch night, and obviously you're going to be on tour with us for No Big Deal. But I think what I'm finding as I'm directing is that, let's say when we put a call out for scratch night, we have actors go, I've never done this before. This is completely new. What do I do? Like, how do you want it? And it's, yeah. I don't know whether it's the culture scene at the moment in the UK, which at the moment needs so much, what's the word I'm looking for? Not solidarity, but just consistency in what it's going to do. Like just grounding. That's what I mean. That it needs something, that this is going to be a success, because obviously we've got funding, blah, 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 politics, whatever. But to actually take a risk, to go, I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to have a structure. We kind of know what the journey's going to be. Let's just go on this journey. If we break down, have a car crash, fine, don't worry, we'll get the AA and fix it. Or actually, it's quite a nice, smooth journey. And And yeah, I think that's kind of the experiences that I'm getting when I'm engaging with people. And yeah, most of the time people jump into it. They really love it because, as you say, the goal is to just live on stage effectively and kind of recreate that real life experience of it being different every night. But Sam, what I mean, what's it like for you?
Excuse me.
He's choking on that.
Yeah, terrified me now. You're not supposed to ask questions. You're our guest.
I'm great. Nice one.
Do you know what? It's such a unique way of doing things. Obviously, improv exists as a big element in theatre, and for people not necessarily familiar, improvisational theatre is literally that. You go out there, you're given an idea or a suggestion, and you develop from that. And there are some huge companies that have been massively successful with it. There have been improvised musicals. There have been nights where you just an audience member names something and a whole story develops from that. And it's a very
they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. I know which company you're talking about. They're amazing.
Yeah. And actually, interestingly for me, improv has always terrified me. And I think actually, Drew, we've talked about it before. How I love being given a script and a character and then given the element of development from there, but very much working around something. Whereas what I did when I first worked with Reflex very much put me out of my comfort zone because there was a script, but it was very brief. And then the characters, there was no character description, really. There was a description of the relationship of the characters, but no backstory for either of them. It was two of us that were doing this particular piece that we did. So it's a very challenging area of theatre, but it was very rewarding at the same time because I had the facility to kind of step out of my comfort zone, try something new. And then developing on from there, what we do with the show we're taking on tour, although that is, as you say, quite heavily scripted, there are different pathways. And again, you have to be prepared to react to what's chosen and what is out of your control. So it's very, very different and a big challenge and a lot of pressure, but not in a negative way, because it really makes you stand up and kind of go, right, I have to react to this. I have to push myself. And actually, it brings me on to something I wanted to ask about in particular, because Reflex mainly focus on theatre and education. That's the biggest focal points thus far. Obviously, you do other things like, as you say, the scratch nights, which are open to all sort of backgrounds and interests. And you've also done a lot of sort of coaching and teaching bits. But the main focal point, or certainly up to now, Reflex's main ideas have been around theatre and education, which is something that we haven't really touched on much on Drewling Samantics.
No, we haven't.
It's not something that, although both Drew and I have done TIE, as it's known, theatre and education, it's not something that happens a huge amount, particularly when you do some of the jobs that we do, because TIE often takes you out of anything else for a long period of time. What really made you want to go to the education sector and kind of put theatre in that area?
It all started, so when I was a bookworm, when you're absorbing information when you're a student, 2014, 2015, just, kind of wanting to know everything there is about theatre, I picked up a book called How to Start Your Own Theatre Company, which I was fair enough directed at the American markets, but I mean, you start a theatre company anyway, start a theatre company anywhere. And the one thing that always that just hit me and I've always stuck with is, if you want a strong, successful theatre company, you have got to have a strong, successful education and outreach department, for a couple of reasons. Because, don't get me wrong, watching West End shows and being involved with them and having lovely commercial success and critical success is wonderful, and we put theatre on this pedestal of being accessible by the highest form of society. It just feels like this ethereal relief. But for me, you've got to, if you're ever starting something, you've got to create that community, and you've got to engage with the communities that you are in and around. So we're obviously based in Norfolk, and we make a point of being a predominantly active Norfolk theatre company that not just want to make shows and not just want to create engaging pieces of art, but also giving opportunities to those who may not have been able to access them, or even watch the shows. So even though, theatre and education may be very kind of, curriculum based, there's loads of companies that do that, and that's brilliant. You know, how do you learn maths in a different way? How do you teach English or history in a different way? Perfect, love that, great, don't ever stop. For me, what I'm more interested in is telling stories that's more about the social stuff. You know, I'll be honest, the stuff that kind of gets us as actors, you know, the plays that we pick up and we go, oh, that's a really interesting comment on society, or oh, this, holding up a mirror. And we want to continue to do that through this particular show. We do have another one, not on the back burner, but it needs a little bit more work. It needs a little bit more development before we take that forward as well on a different subject matter. My point being that if you are able to engage a community and you're able to live with them and create with them and just be with them, not only are you fulfilling your purpose as being a theatre for the masses, which is, you know, theatre should be for everybody. I think everybody in the theatre holds that view, and we want people to come and engage with theatre. We're so desperate for it, especially since the unwelcome guest has made all of our guests unwelcome because no one wants to go in at the moment. It's a really hard sell. And that's one of the other reasons why, because we were born in the fire. We incorporated last year, literally March 2020. What a time to do it. So there was no point us chasing, getting into theatres, making shows. We thought, well, let's cut our teeth somewhere where we know it's going to be needed, where the education sector, don't get me wrong, every sector's struggling. The education sector is, I'm working as a teacher at the moment in a school in Wyndham, and it's brilliant, it's lovely, I love it. It's a really difficult slog. I'm very lucky in the role that I've got. I'm seeing teachers around me who are putting in a shift and a half, and it is just insane, the amount of workload, the amount of stress, not to mention the kids who've got to feel like they've got to catch up, they've got to do this, you've got to do this. We want to offer theatre that relieves people, that obviously offers that escapism, offers that education, offers that outreach, offers those skills to be able to do something, whatever they want to do with their lives. And yeah, don't get me wrong, we have got ambitions to become a theatre company where we go on tour, we do national theatre, we want critical success, but we really need to just kind of take a step back and go, okay, what's actually theatre for? It's for a multiple smorgasbord of reasons, and we're very much focusing on here right now, where can we most make a difference? It's going to be within these places.
I think you mentioned the unwelcome guest and getting into. I think theatre, and particularly theatre and education, is going to be needed because there are children that are going to be falling behind, that they're going to be very confused about things, and a lot of children are going to have some educational some difficulties catching up. There's going to be mental issues as well. There are going to be children that I heard a child the other day referred to him, said, "Oh, I'm a COVID kid," and it was like, whoa, there's going to be a generation of children that regard themselves. And he said, I'm a COVID kid because, you know, my education's been disrupted, my family disrupted. He'd lost a family member, I think a senior member, like a grandmother or something. So he referred, so there are going to be children that sit there going, that are confused. And it's a very confusing, very frightening time. And I know that you said we need theatre to bridge that, to bridge the entertainment gap, you know, without, and we've said it, Sam and I've said it before, without Netflix, without that, you know, people would have been tearing their hair out. And, you know, coming up to Panto season, and we're rehearsing now, both Sam and I, we know that people are booking to see it, but people, you know, children in schools, there is that gap. If you could, and not only, as you say, to reach out to, you know, the communities and that, fill those up, but also there's a big need now to entertain children. I think they need to know that, yeah, we're learning, but there's something more than the grey walls around me. There are people willing to come in and speak to me and talk to me, and just relieve. I mean, we all know it's easy to teach someone if they're happy, if they're easy, if an entertainment, you can entertain a child and subliminally they're learning something. But I really do think that TIE is going to be needed, and theatre in general is going to be, but TIE is going to be needed more and more in the coming months as people adjust to this situation. I mean, it's, God forbid it gets worse, but we're still being disturbed now, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said you want, you're aiming to produce bigger stuff, because I mean, us grown-ups sitting out there that need it, we're going to need it as well, But it fascinates me that there are children out there regarding themselves as scarred by the unwelcome guest. I thank God that you are now able to get out on the road and take some shows to them and take some stuff that just, because it's okay, it's all right, it's okay to have fun, That's the other thing, because there's a lot of children out there that are not having fun at the moment.
Yeah. No, there isn't. And I know that because I'm teaching English and maths at the moment, which is almost like an unwelcome guest catch-up kind of program, whatever. And the way that, obviously, within schools, I know that it's incredibly restrictive and restricted because you have got X amount, especially in secondary school, an X amount of number of kids to teach. And the only way that you can try and do that is by putting something up on a whiteboard so they can all see it, or talk endlessly at them so they can all hear it. But what I'm finding, and it might just be my batch of kids that I've got, who are at one point or another within their education deemed to be on the lower side of attainment, which is another conversation entirely, but whatever. What I'm seeing is that there is an inherent need to be able to learn by doing. And not only does theatre and education, well, to be fair, I'm not going to lie, I don't know if you had a theatre company go in and do a fire safety show or do a police show or a drug show, and you basically just sit there and it's either don't do drugs, don't do all these things, kids, if you're listening, don't do drugs, or don't set your house on fire, or don't chase a cop car, whatever, all these things. But there's a difference between someone saying that to you and you watching that, and then actually you getting involved yourself and you actually learning from a physical kinesthetic experience. And that is where that is everything for me that I do. And I know it's because I'm a very kinesthetic person. I mean, throughout this whole interview, I've been waving my hands and looking my hair and blah blah blah, whatever. But it is needed. You need a holistic engagement. You need more than one approach, and I don't think we have that as much as we are able to in this country, especially since we've been all locked away for our physical health. But as you say, God, we need to change the system or do something to ensure that our mental health and our kids' learning aren't deteriorated from that. There just needs to be another push. And we're all knackered, but we just got to keep up.
Yeah, there could be a lot of people not grown-ups, but going into with a long time ahead of them, that could be scarred and damaged, and we just got to smooth that away. However we do that, and I'll reiterate what I said. Going into schools, and entertaining as well as educating is so important. So
I think if you look at it on a simplistic level as well. It's kids recently have done a lot of online learning through being forced to by the unwelcome guest, and that becomes very repetitive because that is just someone talking at you through a computer screen. If you look at it from an in-person teaching level, there can be a lot of repetition, and repetition can become boring, and then it's harder to learn because you're just you're overflowing them with information, or you're flooding the brain, or you can sort of top out, so to speak. You can hit a point where you're just like, I can't absorb anymore. I would hasten to say that when I was younger and theatre groups came in to do something that had an inherent lesson to it, or some kind of motto or kind of message it was trying to deliver, it was much more memorable. because it's not just looking at people who learn visually, people who learn audibly, people who learn through repetition and things like that. It's something different, something memorable, something fresh. And I think that's a very, very important thing as well. As you both mentioned, we're in a point now where hopefully for the foreseeable future, we will be able to bring these things in person. And actually, to give a little bit of backstory, I think I mentioned many weeks ago, early on in the Drewling Samantics, possibly the first season, when we initially, Callan, had just done the show that we're about to take on tour. And it started out as it was always going to be a touring show. Then we were hit with unavoidable scenarios. But rather than kind of going, well, we'll leave that and pick it up another time, we created visual materials through, as it happened, through Zoom, which were able to be sent out to those schools, to those educational.
Oh, that's valuable.
And they were then able to apply them, and it almost gave them an opportunity to either go, right, we'll show this to children as and when we need to and see if it works, or to go, here's a preview of what we do. Do you want this to come in person? And it was, and I take no kind of responsibility on that. That was all your incredible creation, and you and Megan.
You helped a bit.
But well, I was there, but it was your kind of development of it and your kind of wherewithal to go, right, no, we're not just going to let this die and stick it on a shelf and kind of go, right, we'll pick that up when we can go into schools and we can take it on the road. What you've done is extend it and actually improve it by going, here's a material, here's a fixed piece of video or some content that you can use, and then we can supplement that and we can add to that and reinforce it in person. So I think you're going sort of both barrels, hitting from both sides, and I think it's a very, very valuable thing to do. And just, I think this is the future of education. I think we know that kids learn in many different ways, and we know that we have to hit them in different sort of areas. That sounded really bad. Don't hit kids.
Infuse them.
Thank you, Drew. So saved by the old man there. Right. But yes, we just need to appeal to different methods of learning. And I think it's incredibly valuable. And I think that's why TIE, as you said, Drew, it is so important.
So valuable.
So imperative.
Something that you said that I want to link back to, which is the whole repetitive nature of education. Don't get me wrong, things that sink into the brain are by repetition. When we learn lines, all right, learning lines is awful, isn't it? Absolutely awful. I don't know if you've got your own, you don't know if you've got your own methods of it. I've got mine where I read one line 3 times, then read the second line 3 times, then both of them 3 times, then the third. I know, awful. But what actually you said is actually the extension of the approach that I said right at the beginning. It's not doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's not about saying the same lines over again, because you might, God forbid, obviously, but I know that we've been in shows where we just say the same lines over and over again. You just feel like you're on autopilot.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not about teaching the same thing over and over again. What it is actually going, well, we know what the idea is. Let's have a look at the things that we might have already done and then just change it. Just by one thing, just by one thing. That's us. That's us as Reflex in a nutshell. And not only am I seeing it in, I don't know, because I only see the kids like an hour a week being a tutor for them. But hopefully they're then taking that forward and things are just landing for them a bit better, because you're not just doing things over and over again and not changing things up, not engaging the brain. But what you're doing is you're stimulating, you're engaging. And for us, if we're engaged on stage as actors, you're a hell of a lot more likely to be engaged if you sat there watching us.
Yeah. It's interesting. I did a many years ago. I did a TIE tour, and we did 2 days in each school, and we had a thing. It was a play about bullying. Called Things That Go Bump in the Night, children's nightmares, and it wasn't a strict bullying thing, but it had these sort of subliminal messages. But it was basically a little piece of soap opera for children. It was their lives, And we did a workshop afterwards. And part of the play was set. The kids all went and played on a tip, and they got these cardboard boxes, and they made stuff out of cardboard boxes. And we did a workshop, and we would take in however many cardboard boxes and give a cardboard box to a kid and go, right, you can make anything you like out of that. You know, what are you going to come up with? And then we was to go back into school the next day and give them a cardboard box and say, right, we want something else now. My sign's fallen down. Look at the back. I've gone on the tilt.
True. After you like berating me for not having my sign because I'm away from home, I think your sign's done a runner.
It has, mate. Look at that.
We'll fix that in a bit. Carry on. You had
I just heard that, but no. And so we did this first, and it was amazing because I would say 50% of the children out of a cardboard box would make a television or a computer or something. And these were the days of big computers, not laptops. So we go in the next day and say, okay, all those people that we're not going to set you any rules, but if you made a television yesterday, now use the television. Now, tell us a story or whatever. Or if you used a computer, and you can have another box to go with it or whatever. And then they were really like, oh, okay. Now we really have. But the stuff that came out of these kids, and we were working with children from around about sort of 7 through to 10, and the things that the stuff that will come out of their imaginations. And also they've been they knew we were coming back the next day. They'd spent the night thinking of it. They were going home watching programs, and the guy said, "Oh, can we tear the cardboard up? You can do anything you like with it. You could anything you like." They made so much stuff. I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. And I can't tell you how pleased it was with just a cardboard box. It was stunning. And there was like, well, we're going to repeat it, but now you're going to change it. And they changed stuff. Brilliant.
That is beautiful. And sadly, what I'm seeing because of the ridiculousness that's occurring is that that has been stunted. That imaginative growth because what do you engage with other than a screen or other than the nearest and dearest around you? Your world becomes so enclosed, so isolated. And something else that I'm seeing, I'm thinking of one kid in particular today, cracking kid, love him to bits, absolutely cracking. He really struggles to come up with any independent thought. Like he really struggles, and I don't know whether that's because he's been told he's wrong constantly, that no, you shouldn't say that. No, this is the right answer. This is the right answer. But I'm seeing kids not be willing to take not ownership of their actions, but being afraid of it. And I hear, and this is again another reason why this tour exists, or this particular show exists, is I always hear at a school, especially primary, but even in secondary, as you grow up, you just hear it less and less because you assume that they've got the idea by now. Make the right choice. Make good choices. How the hell do they know what one is if they've never seen one? How the hell? Like, surely you've got to get it wrong first. Like, but in some circumstances, obviously, because this show's about substance misuse, if you get it wrong once, you might just be, that's it, you're buggered.
Yeah.
So how do you make that a safe environment? You put it in a fictional setting, and this is why we're giving the choice over to the kids to say, listen, this is a choice for one character. You make it for him. These are the consequences of what could happen in his context. Let's have a learn from it.
Yeah. In a very safe, we will catch you environment as well, which is
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And I have to say, and I'll say this now, Callan, I'm sure you'll agree. I think when we do go on tour in the new year, I think if we can try and get some behind the scenes stuff for the Drewling Samantics listeners and viewers,
I think it'd be
great. And we'll try and bring some stuff like that because we'd love to have you back on. And I know you've got to run and appreciate we're very cutting things fine. But we'll definitely get some stuff going when we're on tour. We'll try and bring some more content and show the Drewling Samantics listeners and viewers exactly what it's all about and how it really does influence, and particularly how it influences us as well, actually, being able to bring that. But,
a bit blurry.
To change it up or to sort of to finish off, let's look completely the other way because we've had some very serious chat and it's been really wonderful and very incisive and it's been really valuable. But let's flip it completely on its head. Give us something ridiculous now, because they always say, don't they, you should never work with kids and animals. You must have a story that we can finish up with.
My first TIE experience was with a company in Birmingham. Brilliant, love them. Not a word. And again, that was a big inspiration for me in terms of, you know, the education outreach stuff. We were doing a show on transitions and going from primary to secondary school, but also the transition of puberty.
Right.
And obviously, the show in itself was hilarious. I think, like, page 2, I played this 10-year-old kid, and I look directly at these year 6s and 7s, these 10, 11-year-olds, square in the eye, as a 21-year-old male, and I go, "My willy's got really hairy." Straight away, second page, and then it just gets more ridiculous from there. The conversations that I was having was brilliant, because obviously you have a workshop conversation, you have the kids around you, they get to ask questions, but you throw facts at them, not just about boy bits, but about girl bits as well, how they work, because it's quite nice to know both sides. You can be sympathetic and both sides, blah blah blah, whatever. And obviously, when it gets to about penis length, obviously there are some boys who are, let's say, a bit too enthusiastic. One of whom said, what's the average size? What's the size? How big does it get? How big does it get? I went, well, usually the average size of a penis is between 2 or 4 inches. And he went, "Miss, get a ruler! Get a ruler!"
Oh, God.
This was also the boy who said, "If I grow hair, do I grow a tail?"
What?
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Bless him, he was 10 years old. I love it. Bless him, bless him. He's probably now, 17, 18? So if he has grown that tail, if you are watching, please do get in touch.
Oh, mate, that was absolutely fantastic.
Super.
What a great story.
Superb.
Yeah,
Don't work with
from
kids
out the
or
mouth
animals,
of babes,
but if you do, then you're going to come up with comedy gold like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, oh no, I have to tell you this as well. I've just remembered. So obviously, I do monologues and blah blah and direct address to the kids. We've also got the female who I was working alongside, and one of the things that she says is, "Oh, I'm on my period. How come, right? All the adverts on the TV, period, they're all lovely and skinny and they all feel good, and I just feel sad and fat and miserable." That word of a lie, 10-year-old girl looked her right in the eye and she said, "That's because you are."
Ooh.
I'm sat there. I'm creasing. I couldn't believe what I just heard.
Like,
Absolutely, that's amazing. Oh my God.
I don't know how you keep a straight face at that point.
I really didn't. I just...
sometimes you have to roll with the punches and go, "It's funny. You got it. It's funny. You got to deal with it."
And I'll give you one final one from the same tour. They're all flooding back to me now. There's a moment where me and her become a boyfriend and girlfriend item at like 11 and 12. And obviously there's the first kiss. Will they, won't they? Will they, won't they? And we did it like 3-4 times because that's the gag, that's the comedy. One poor kid couldn't take it and just yelled at the top of his voice in the back row, "Oh, for God's sake, just kiss and have babies!"
Just...
there
we go. For any of you who have not had the talk yet, Callan's just explained, kiss and have babies. Simple as that.
There you go.
Mate,
Brilliant.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for joining us
much
today.
appreciated.
I cannot wait to be back on tour with you. Really looking forward to it. And as said, we'll definitely get you back on and hopefully
You've got to come back, mate. You've got to
tour.
come back.
Oh, we love you. Fix that damn sign.
Yeah. Callan, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you soon, mate. All right.
Thank you. Love you guys.
See you later.
Take care, buddy.
Bye, mate.
Well, you cannot deny that Callan has energy, passion, and a lot to say. I mean, what a wonderful guest he was. What a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both know him really well. Outside of sort of professionally, we're good friends, and we see each other, and we've worked together with him as an actor. But I have to say, I think he's found his absolute passion in running this theatre company, and particularly the theatrical side in education. He's just a breath of fresh air, isn't he? He really is.
Isn't he just? Is that? Yeah, I mean, it's you hear interesting voices and committed voices, but just knowing him as an actor and knowing the fun that we've had with him and to say the energy that he has, there is no doubt in my mind that he's, like you say, he's found where he should be, and he's just going to be an absolute gift and a joy for anyone that works for Reflex, but that has someone has Reflex come and entertain and work with him. He's just immense. It's great fun.
Oh yeah,
great.
And I think everything we talked about is so right, that theatre and education is absolutely a massively important tool, and kids these days need these kind of things. They need the variety, they need the interesting levels of teaching and the different elements, just memories and ways of touching their ability and their minds in a very different way. And I think it's hugely important. And as I said, definitely once I'm out on tour with him and the company, we'll try and get some behind the scenes stuff and sort of.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
I think it'd be good to show exactly how you take theatre to an educational area and how you apply it in a school, or how it differs from that of what we do normally. So I think there's some real scope for some interesting content for all the listeners and viewers coming up. But just brilliant to have Callan on the show. Really was. But anyway, mate, it's I mean, again, as always, we've had this so often with guests. How the bloody hell do you follow it? I mean, Callan's a 110 mile an hour all the way kind of guy. So I feel like we're anticlimactic compared to having him on. But what we do have to do, or I say you, for God's sake, sort your sign out, mate. I'm going to sit here and for anyone not
well, I mean, I will sort of, usually it is far better, but tonight, today we're, rehearsals and et cetera, and running around like a mad thing past few days. Today it just had to be slightly temporary, and it was extraordinarily temporary.
Yeah, so go on. I'm not going to speak to you until you saw it. So get up and do it. Go on.
The one thing you haven't said yet is it's behind you. You should have said.
Oh, mate, I missed it, didn't I? I mean, it nearly wasn't behind you. It was nearly on the floor.
It wasn't.
So for anyone on YouTube, this is Drew's rear end as he fixes
live theatre. There we are. There we go.
And I have to tell you, the other thing that I can't believe I didn't pick up on is, I mean, you're almost blending in with the Sofa of Dreams. Your red jumper is very close.
I know it was a slight miscalculation. I literally, as you know, I've zoomed in after rehearsals today, and I just slid in the sofa, cranked up Zoom, and went, "Oh, that's not good, is it?" But there you've got my sunny little face sitting on top. There you go.
Yeah, well, it's lucky because most people listen to us rather than watch us, and I can't really blame them, to be honest.
Probably just as well, isn't it, mate? Under the circumstances.
But, well, I tell you what, mate. Then I won't ask you what you're up to, because I full well know what you're up to. And you've got
vice versa.
A few days before you open, I'm now open, and it's going brilliantly, and just keeping fingers crossed that everything continues in the same vein. But
brilliant.
But we've got some exciting stuff coming up for the Drewling Samantics listeners and watchers. So do I absolutely give up. Sign has
not going to say a word, mate.
Right,
not going to say a word.
Yeah,
leave it.
On that,
just leave it.
Horrendous ending. We will say farewell to everyone. But mate, it's been wonderful chatting to you as always.
And you, buddy. And
so
you.
Glad that everything's going well, and I look forward to catching up again in a week's time.
Well, keep up the good work, buddy. Keep enjoying it in Pantoland.
Oh, absolutely. Same to you, and everyone.
It's been a long time coming.
Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Take it easy, everyone.
Take care.
See ya. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then please consider subscribing to our channel, and you'll get notified every time a new video is released. Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app.
Please support us on other social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.